Thank you so much, Sneha, for talking to us here at SAS 22. Now, normally we talk to SaaS companies about partnerships, about their GTM strategy, etc. But I think today we have the opportunity to do something that's very unique to you and something that will be very unique to our viewers and readers. What makes you unique is your YC experience. So would love to talk to you about that. But before we begin, we'd actually like to get to know you a little better. So why don't you tell us, Sneha, a little bit about yourself and what your journey has been like till here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and doing this. Excited to be talking more about YC, the experience. But yeah, my journey started, has always been in supply chain. So, supply chain is a huge umbrella, pretty much everything that falls under that umbrella, both strategic and tactical. But I started my career in manufacturing before really getting into data centers and then finally to construction, modular manufactured construction, and um, huge learnings from working with traditional industries, right? You're really not at the helm of what tech would look like otherwise when you're working with tech industries. And the interesting part is, even if you're working with the billion-dollar companies out there, when it comes to supply chain and enterprise softwares, it's still, the lay of the land isn't very different in terms of how you view technology. You might be working on the latest technology, but the inherent processes that actually exist in managing the different value chains in terms of your product still are pretty archaic. You still resort to Excel, you still have manual ways of doing work. But that's pretty much what I did before, diving into Merlin, because the plight of enterprise softwares was worse when it came to construction. The software fatigue existed a lot in this industry. I mean, not that it doesn't exist in manufacturing, it does too. But I think even if you look at multiple articles, you will see that manufacturing in some ways is still ahead of construction in terms of productivity they have gained or advancements they have seen. And construction, given being a $1 trillion industry, is still out there to ready to be ready to accept something that makes sense for them. For the most part, a lot of softwares that exist in our industry actually came from somewhere else, and have our customers, our companies have tried to adapt their processes to that, which I honestly believe should be the other way around, where the whole concept of buying a software is to enhance your productivity, right? To I mean, the foundation of why we go for a software is to organize your days, enhance your productivity, have things in the right place, and hopefully automate stuff. And if you
No, no, go ahead.
I mean,
I was just saying you've been in the trenches, and I think that's probably one of the things that does set you apart. The fact that you've experienced it, you know what the pain points are firsthand, and I'm sure that has had a significant part to
yeah.
play in how you have built Merlin AI. So, would love to get to know about what Merlin AI is, where it all started. I think we kind of got the essence of it, but what's been the story of the company and the product as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so and coming back to what I was saying, that the whole essence was to do that, and I didn't feel that was what the state was, the status quo was when it came to especially enterprise software. So, um, mm, really wanted to tackle that head on. I am not a tech person, right? I've just worked in this domain for so long, have managed the tech stack, but not really played the role of a developer uh, per se. And KS, who is also my co-founder, came from a tech background, and he's my brother too, by the way. And so often, some family meetings, or meet and greets and gatherings. This was always top of mind because I was always curious at what he was doing, because he came from startup world and I came from the world where I worked for all these big, million billion dollar companies, right? So the two worlds are very different. So being able to have that conversations chat, he was pretty intrigued on what can be done. He had built and sold his previous startup, so he was coming out of that, and I was ready to just take on a new challenge. And that's when we decided, let's do something together. Let's try this out that I have been complaining for years now with him. That's, I would say, that was pretty much the moment when we knew we had to do this. It didn't happen overnight. We had our own share, of learnings and mini projects before we really came out. Like, we had our we knew we had our calling. We just took baby steps in terms of what that really needs to be, right? KS coming from a tech background, built and building a product 0 to 1, understands the journey and what needs to be found out. So that's we started doing some very small projects with, because I was in the industry, I had some connections, had some friends. They were willing to give us some small mini projects to learn more about. We started actually with prefab manufacturing. So when you make trusses and wall panels for high rises, and that's when we did some these small projects. And finally then came understood that, okay, this is the problem, this is a problem that exists in the market. This is what we're going to do. There are a lot of point solutions that exist in the market that do a great job of what they are doing, but the whole point of being able to talk to each other isn't it doesn't exist, which is why people go to smart sheets or Excel files and try to connect everything. And that's when the point is lost. Because, just giving you an example, if I'm using a separate procurement software and a totally different site operation software, if the if the sub or the material or the services are running behind, you need to move your schedule around. And if these both are not talking, you're always in the reacting stage. You're never doing
Mm.
things proactively. So it the pain was pretty clear. We wanted to take it head on, and then we started our journey about a year back, building this and slowly making some motion with some of the design partners, I would say, our early beta users, and then YC happened. And the rest has just been great after that.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad that you brought it to this point, and it's a great way for me to segue into what really is the crux of what we wanted to talk to you about, which is your YC experience. Now, as someone who spends a lot of time on social media, right, one of the things I most commonly see in the startup circles is people talking about the just how difficult the process of applying to YC itself is. Forget about getting through, right? I've been told it's a tedious process, but as someone who's done it, I would love to maybe hear from you. Why don't you myth bust this thing for us and tell us, is it easy? Is it tough? What does it entail?
Yeah, I think um I just cannot so KS, who's my co-founder, by the way, had applied to YC. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. Had applied to YC quite like a couple times before we
Hmm.
before this application. So he kind of knew the experience, right? I was there to just ride that journey. He had understood when, I would say, the his experience of doing it and not getting in for his previous companies, he had a fairly good idea what that was. And we had applied to YC before, we got in anyways. But, back then, as I said, we were exploring our own journey. We probably ourselves were not clear exactly what we want to do. Really, did I want to build an enterprise software, or was it something small that we wanted to build? So we really, I starkly remember what we did for that before we got into YC here. Um, it is intense, I would say. But I have to admit that whether you want to get into YC or you don't, and you're just doing it like an exercise, it just forces you to get some clarity on your journey. The questions they ask, and it just pushes you to distill your vision, your product, what kind of traction you have had, or what do you want, where you're going, what's your vision. Like, I think it's the most compelling form, I would say, right? And it's hard, right? It's hard, but it pushes you to go back, just be blunt, be honest with yourself, right? About what kind of problem are you solving, and why are we as founders uniquely positioned to solve it. Like today, I'm sitting here, I'm able to tell you my story because I really
Hmm.
did that retrospective while doing that application. Um, so it did take a good round of iteration, right? Cut the fluff out, right? No
Yeah,
to one liner. It really, really, I mean, that's something that even through YC, they will like push you to know your one liner, and they will hone it for you with you. I mean, I love that part. Like I got my tag line, my one liner after YC, really, right? And you have to just make sure that all your answers are focused and real, right? We can talk about the interview side later, but I mean that.
yeah. I'd love to just sort of get a sense of, if you had to quantify this process from start to finish, your application, how much time would you have approximately taken to go through the whole thing?
Um, Gosh, I don't think I kept a track of time. Um, but I have to say that it was easier for us this time around because we were clearer.
Got it.
Already done. I mean, KS had already done that application, so we had some good experience. Um, I'm not gonna say I really cannot tell you like if it took us 2 hours, but we really sat on it a couple hours for a few days, definitely.
Yeah,
Most of the time was not really writing, was mostly introspecting and just making sure we knew what we were doing, what our journey was. So did that exercise for a week, I would say, like 3, 4 days, and then that's when we did the application. But I have to say that we were at that stage where we knew what we were building and had already gone through this exercise. If it's the first time you're doing it, I mean, I'm sure you'll take longer.
absolutely. You also mentioned, your briefly mentioned that you would want to tell us about your interview experience and how that was. So,
Oh, that.
um, logically, why don't we talk about that next?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, I did want to mention that, take help. We talked to our previous YC founders as well. So, if you're starting this afresh, especially the first time around, we actually connected with a YC alum, tried to understand what the process looked like. They give you a good idea. It's always good to connect with YC alum. I mean, I'm happy to share. KS would be happy to share from our experiences as well. But that's something that you should always tap into. YC is always ready to help you. I mean, there's tons of resources online as well that you can go read, enjoy, and feel like you're part of YC while not really being there, but you can keep learning until you actually get in. But yeah, we did seek help from YC alums and also got references. So
Mhm.
that was good. For the interview, I think the first time that we had done this when we did not really get in, and of course we were not very clear as well. We 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 prepped it pretty well. I think that took long. I mean, not longer, but many iterations. But as you know, like it's pretty short interview. Like it's not something that you would do probably when you go interview for companies or something. And I'm just amazed the kind of questions they ask and how fast they move. And so we um We pitched, we prepped the pitch definitely, did some mock interviews also, right? And did it, practiced it with us, with ourselves, within ourselves. You actually get a hang of it when you're submitting the application anyways, because you have to condense that in literally, I think it was a minute or something, that you submit an audio, like a video
Mhm.
to go along with your application, where you just talk about the founders, your, revenue and stuff, your traction and stuff. So we had that experience, but yeah, did some mock interviews with each other also, right? But the crux of what we were trying to get at was, we knew our numbers, we knew our answers are one in one line, in one statement. So we kind of answered, when you are interviewing, you answer what the question immediately without getting into the story. You can add a couple lines after that, but it's such a short interview, you want to get to the point immediately.
Got it. Out of curiosity, I know you mentioned seeking help and YC alums and all of that. So I'm guessing a lot of the element of the interview process, especially because you mentioned it has to be short, it has to be crisp and to the point. Was there a lot of alum help that you got to sharpen your pitch before the interview?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't contact a lot of different,
Okay.
like we knew a few, and we were happy to just connect with them. Um, and we did that exercise within us as well. But you can connect, like there's a lot of resources out there and people ready to talk to you and help you prep. I'm sure if you seek help, if you just reach out, people will be ready to do some, I mean, of course, be mindful of their time and availability, and of course, be good.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think people are definitely very helpful in doing some mock pitches with you.
Wonderful. Now, I just want to go back to one of the things that I picked up on from what you said, which is, the time that you were at YC, it obviously helped you sharpen a lot of your one-liners that you had about your company, and it gave you your company's tagline, right? So, would love to know more about what really went into the process of refining these one-liners, arriving at a tagline, and in general, what else could you learn from your time at YC?
I cannot, I don't think I'll ever do justice to, I could sit here, talk for hours of what did I learn. Um, just, fangirling like anyone else would. I am so grateful that I got that experience. Um, it's I would actually thank KS for actually, dragging me to this whole journey of IC, and then because he has been fanboying this since he started his career, okay? I started fangirling this when, I got into the startup world. So he just knows, if you were to do an interview with him, I mean, you're gonna get a lot of scoop on YC anyways. He just loves YC. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to share that I just feel I wouldn't ever do justice to what I learned there. I'll start with what you mentioned, which is how did we hone into one-liners. So, one of the prime and important exercise that we do when we get into YC is figure out, okay, what's your, like, if I am just stuck in an elevator, pretty much not even an elevator switch. Like, if you ask me, Sneha, what are you doing? And I tell you I'm an AI powered enterprise for construction. That's not something that I just, like, it sounds simple, but when we were doing that exercise and we went with our one liner, I remember, like, the first office hours we had, that was something that we had to come up with, and we had two liners, or probably three liner, and didn't really have this tagline. And then because also we were building such a big product, we were like, okay, how can we really, just push this in just one line and things like that. But then we did that exercise with our partners in front of
Mhm.
my whole group. Like, so we are like, 10 to I think 15 companies that we assign, we're in a group, and we do group office hours. So we're sitting there with all our, fellow peers who are in YC, and then in front of them, you're practicing this, and then partners give you feedback, and then, do another round. And that's how we came up with that, along with the feedback from the partners and sometimes your peers as well. And that was a journey of getting to this tagline. But there were many other learnings. I think something that I do want to highlight, which is a soft thing that I just experienced, was how humble people are. One of my partners is like, he's one of the visiting partners. His company went to IPO, PagerDuty, and
Okay.
I had no idea about him. He is there in a very, humble, attire, I would say. There's nothing pompous about any partner out there. They're so accomplished, right? Every partner that I met there has some amazing name and game that they have played in their whole career, right? But talking to them, they are just another person in that room. The vibe that you have when you meet people, and the partners, I just, for a couple weeks, I was just in awe of how, humility and talent go together, right? It's so hard to just feel that, oh my God, like these are celebrities in their own way, right? And
Yeah.
they have no air about them. I think that's something that I cannot like talk more about. It's not enough to mention that. I'm just like, that's a lesson I'll keep for forever, right? For my life. But then the other thing is, YC's mantra is build something that people want, right? And you really get to internalize it when you are there, right? While you are building this journey, while you're learning your how to build a company and a product that people want. So you really get to internalize this, along with the when you're surrounded specifically by these amazing partners and very, very sharp and ambitious founders of many different companies. It's just insanely inspiring, right? You share your wins, you learn from their journeys, that's your platform to vent. You just can be brutally honest and no one is judging you on your journey, right? You can constantly be thinking about pivoting, right? It's the best support
Mhm.
system you can have for life. um
Wow.
it's
I
just,
mean, yeah, you
yeah.
make it seem like a dream, and I'm quite envious and very happy also, that I get to speak with someone who's been through it. It frankly is inspiring. So I can't imagine what a world of good, speaking to someone like you would do for our viewers and readers as well. So yeah, so many lessons along the way.
Absolutely. Yes. I really feel grateful to have gone through that journey.
Wonderful. Now, as much as all of this sounds like a wonderful dream, I'm sure there are numerous obstacles you would have faced along the way.
Yeah.
Um, Not just during, let's say, the application or the first time when you mentioned KS had always been wanting to be a part of it but didn't make it the first time around for his startups. But what are some of the obstacles or challenges that you encountered at your time at YC?
I think the pace, right?
Mm,
You get everything done within that 3 months, right? And so there's a lot to do. You're pretty much learning how to build a company and just trying to soak into, I don't know, n number of resources that you have available. There's a whole playbook that you have to go through and then just understand how this, this keep learning it, keep understanding what the process looks like. What are the events? How many events to keep up with? And our partners guided us a lot along the way. But one thing that I would say, what I learned was how much you can get done in a very short amount of time, right? And then and that can only happen when you focus on the right things, focus on what is working. And oh my God, I cannot stress more on on how YC and our partners stressed about the office hours. I think the office hours are the highlight of my life there, and even outside. We still do office hours with our peer companies. We continued that tradition for our group, right? And I think that's the best thing that you can do for I would say if that's something that we have taken away and we are still doing it, like a ritual, is that. And I cannot tell you how amazing it is, because I'm seeing the growth of my peers as well on what they're doing, and we all share ourselves, and just them being a sounding board, right? We can go ahead and share our failures as well, and also learnings. I think that's the best part. But that journey in itself is a very intense. It's all about speed. It's all about building
Mhm.
fast. And actually, I we have seen like a lot of companies pivoting just in a very short amount of time, because every week we go in, we share our struggles, we have goals. So there are key KPIs that we are looking at. We commit to our group and our partners. This is what we think we're gonna do next week, and then we keep understanding. So uh, it's like that whole journey of building fast and iterating fast, crunched into that short amount of time, while you are trying to tackle and that fear of missing out on any of the events while all of that is still going. I think that I would say that would be my not challenge, but highlights of what
Mhm.
we experienced.
Right. But what was it that you did? Let's say the guidance and the open office hours aside, I'm sure there would have been a lot that you would have had to do as a person,
Oh,
physically and mentally, to keep up with the sheer pace of everything. How did you evolve your routine to, kind of keep up with it?
oh, I mean, personally, I think we were just, firstly, I have to say one thing, and without sharing a lot of details, a metric that YC highlights for us when we are there is if you are in the Bay Area, and we literally lived 2 blocks away from YC, right? The
Sure.
vibe is different. There's a reason it's called the Silicon Valley, and it is the center of the world. I cannot tell you the vibe, if you are doing YC, well, if you're doing YC, you have to live there. But the more you live there, there's something in that air, in the air, that just motivates you, and all you're doing is building, talking, startup events. Everything about that place is about building a startup. So I think I don't remember the exact percentage, but a good heavy percentage of what YC thinks people get become successful is because they live there, right? That's a big motivator. But anyways, coming to what we did was, I don't think we did well, the routine, the daily routine changed in a way that we were now more focused, right? There was no time to slack, because we were thankfully had customers, and we were building product. And so we had to deal with that and support with just, a very small team. We really didn't have any team members back then. It was just the three of us, and then someone supporting on the design, and probably one more person. So while doing all of that, and then internalizing everything that YC was teaching us. So the routine was, I don't think we slept a lot, but we didn't even feel like we were not sleeping, because there were a lot of events that we were going to. And partners also help us distill what's important. This is what you have to go to. This is what you don't have to go to all the events. But I think for the most part, we were stuck in that, not stuck, like we were in that room, in that apartment of ours, the three of us, three co-founders, the three of us just sitting there constantly talking to our friends, having friends over, or just visiting, our peer companies on events and everything. Life was just about building, and then going to IC and just learning what needs to change, or whatever are we at. But yeah, I mean, it was all we woke up and we slept, like it was all just YC. That the vibe
Wow.
changed for us.
What an incredible 3 months. Let's talk about Plan B now. I'm sure while getting into YC has definitely helped you as a person, helped KS as a person, and helped your company in leaps and bounds as well. Um, I'm sure there is, given how rigorous YC's criteria is for selecting companies, there is a chance that you may not have been a part of the cohort as well. So, did you have a plan B in mind?
Um, No, not really. There was no plan B. I don't think we ever had a plan B. Um, we just knew that we had to do this, right? And I mean, you don't have to get in the first time. A lot of people I know
Mhm.
don't get in the first time. There's the sixth time and the seventh time, and that's okay, right? You keep going at it. I don't think we had a plan B. We really never even applied for any other well, YC is more, I mean, accelerators. We'd never really applied for anyone that other than YC. So I wouldn't say there was, you can have a plan B. I mean, there are many other amazing accelerators. We just didn't, as a group, didn't. And a lot of motivation, inspiration came from my co-founder, KS. We just knew we had to do this.
So you would just say, put your head down
Your
and
head
keep
down
at it.
and
That's
keep
what
at
you
it.
did.
Yes, absolutely. And YC, at least that's my um, based on my what I have understood or my understanding or my POV is YC looks at you as founders, not your idea, not your company.
Right.
Of course, there is an element to it. I mean, it has to make sense. Uh, but you know how you are thinking when you are applying it, YC, your application is being looked at and evaluated for how you are thinking about how you build a company. Because YC doesn't put a lot of focus on what we started with building as a company. You can totally be in YC and YC would support you pivoting all the time because they believe in you as a founder, not your idea, not your company. They just believe in you and how you think as a founder because then when you are in YC, they believe that no matter what you put your head at, you're going to be successful. You can build a company.
Wonderful. Now that you mentioned you were, I think, a team of three when you were at YC, and now that you've, if I could use the term, graduated from the cohort, how have things changed? What are the next milestones that you are looking forward to as Merlin?
So as I said, like we are continuing the ritual of, meeting our peers and, staying in touch and all of that. So I think that's something that we have continued to do even after YC. The KPIs at YC, with YC we used to manage. We still try to do that. That was something that we were doing weekly. I would say we are doing it monthly now. So that just keeps our head as founders in one place, like, okay, this is the goal we are targeting, this is where we are at. So constantly working on that, root causing it, understanding what needs to change. We really recently ran an experiment in sales, which wasn't quite working as well as we could. We had our learnings. We quickly now moved and try to understand other market and things like that. So I think that's something that's constantly going. I won't say life has changed a lot in terms of how intense life has been, and I'm nothing but thankful and grateful for the days, for the business, for the constant churn we are going through. I think that's the would say that's the beauty of building a startup grounds up. You're learning, you're failing fast, you're then, just picking yourself back up and constantly going. I think that's also a great part of having a co-founder because not all days are same for you. So you
Oh,
will have your ups and
absolutely.
downs. And I have my other founders to actually pick me back up. And when they
Oh,
are not well, I am able to keep them motivated through the journey. But the intensity hasn't changed, and in all good ways. Let's say that.
no, I 100% relate to a lot of what you said, especially about building a company from the grounds up, having that tight, close-knit team of founders that's essentially keeping you in check, that's keeping things upbeat as well. That's so important when you are at this stage as a company. So I know we're almost on the clock. So once again, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I think this is absolutely invaluable advice that's in here. But yeah, just a little fun question to kind of round up this interview. And yes, before we do, shout out to KS as well. I know he's not here as a part of the interview, but clearly a lot of his presence was certainly reflected. So yes, coming to the fun question. I'm sure as an entrepreneur, you do derive inspiration from maybe certain books, certain movies, or podcasts. Do you have any recommendations that you'd like to share, or just some favorites?
Yeah, I'm just being honest. There's very less time in my days to read books, but
Mhm.
there's so many great ones out there. I will just talk about podcasts that I go through, and I have to say that if you want to get into YC, uh, without a doubt, go watch all the videos. They're not really podcasts, but every video there's so much content. I think I'm a fan. I cannot stress more that if you have time, if you're driving, I mean, just go ahead. Go ahead, just listen up. There's so much to soak in, to get in. There's tons of goodness out there. So that will be my first recommendation. I um I like reading shareholder letters, and especially Amazon's shareholder letters.
Oh,
I
that's gold
think I'm
standard.
not, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not something that's new that I'm talking about. Um, it is valuable. It just gives you now, when I used to read it before when I was an employee.
Mhm.
Now when I read it, it changes my perspective. It has changed in how I look towards how I internalize some of the stuff, and see what is applicable to my company. So all YC videos, and it doesn't have to be Amazon, but read shareholder, learn from these amazing, successful CEOs out there. I didn't mention this over a podcast during our chat, but before we leave, we had some amazing big founders come, like you. So we met Sam Altman, we met Andy Jassy. We got to meet Brian Chesky. So, just being in that room with these, stalwarts,
I can't even
that was
imagine.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
seeing Sam Altman like right next to me speaking to us, I just like, still gives me goosebumps. I'm still a fan. Just sitting there listening to me, having the privilege for us to sit there in a room full of, only a little, group, and Sam Altman and Brian Chesky, and my God, that influences you in so many ways, so many ways. So that's, if you want to do that, if you want to get up and close with these amazing, amazing founders that are just, shaping the world literally right now, um, YC is the place to be.
Thank you. And thank you for pulling out the big guns right at the end. This is I mean, I'm in awe right now, and it's probably a good time for me to take a step back, end this interview, and go back and reflect on everything that you have said. So, thank you so much, Sneha. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I think we got far more than we asked for. So, yeah, looking forward to publishing this, and looking forward to speaking with you soon again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. This was an amazing conversation.